Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be continuing reading our entire Bible story. Last time we learned about Ruth, so today we're going to be continuing the story. It's called the Wake Up Call, based on 1 Samuel chapter 1 through 3. So this is what the pages look like. Let's go ahead and get into it. And hundreds of years since the Israelites settled in the promised land of Canaan, they often turned from God to worship heathen idols. As we've known before, this has happened quite often, and it's really a sad truth of even today's world. As a result, their priests have become corrupt, and they are largely dominated by their enemies, the Philistines. The priests no longer serve God's people with merciful hearts. At the Lord's house in Shiloh, Eli, the high priest, watches the faithful come to worship. He notices a woman, and suddenly he becomes angry. He thinks to himself, her lips aren't moving. She's not even saying anything. Another drunk who needs to lay off the wine. Angrily, he accuses her. No, I'm not drunk. I'm unhappy, and in my sorrow I poured out my heart to God, asking him to help me. And Eli says, I am sorry for my hasty judgment. Go in peace, Hannah, and may God grant you what you prayed for. She thinks to herself, O Lord Almighty, if you will have pity on my misery and give me a son, I will dedicate him to you for all his days. So she wanted to have a son, and she couldn't have a son, but she promised God, if you give me a son, I will dedicate him to you. God does answer Hannah's prayers. When her little boy is old enough, she brings him to Eli. When I asked God for a son, I promised that he would serve the Lord all his life. So I have brought him here to be trained in God's house. His name is Samuel. God bless you, Hannah. I will teach your sons to be a servant of the Lord. So now we're going to learn about the great Samuel and everything he had gone through. And I believe Samuel even is the one who picks David to be king. But we will see how all this will lead into that. Samuel stays with Eli and eagerly learns how to serve God. Each year when Hannah and her husband come to worship, she brings Samuel a new coat. It's just like a priest's robe. Thank you, Mother. Old Eli is proud of Samuel. As Samuel works in the temple, he shows his devotion to God. Unlike Eli's two sons who sin against God and cheat the people even though they're priests, one night Samuel hears a voice. So he serves him better than even Eli's son, which makes Eli very proud. His sons are very corrupt and evil. But again, now we're getting back into this. He hears a voice call out his name, Samuel. Samuel rushes to find out what Eli wants, but Eli hadn't called him. He goes back to sleep, and again he hears a voice calls him, Samuel. Samuel goes running to Eli's room again. Eventually, Eli realizes that God is speaking to Samuel. He instructs Samuel to answer the Lord and listen to whatever message God has for him. So, the next morning, Eli asks what God had told him. Samuel doesn't want to repeat the message, but Eli insists. God says Eli's sons are wicked, and Eli has not tried to stop them. They will be punished for the evil they have done. And Eli cries out, it is true. He is the Lord, and he will do what he knows is right. Word spreads that God has spoken to Samuel. As Samuel grows up, all of Israel knows that he is a true prophet of God. Not a corrupt one, not a fake one, not an evil one. He's a true prophet of what God had intended him to be. If only our priests were men of God like Samuel. How long must we suffer under the lying and cheating of Eli's sons? Mark my words, they will bring about their own destruction. So, obviously in today's story we learned about the beginning of Samuel and the wickedness of some of these prophets, because they keep turning away from God and they keep turning away from his natural laws, his true stories, and the way of living and the way they should serve God. They turned away from them. Many of them had started serving false prophets or false idols, and now many of them are becoming corrupt prophets and doing things evil and to really get what they want out of it, and even making judgment very quickly and things like that, as we saw with Eli. But Samuel has come to recharge that. He's come to be a true prophet and go back to the way God intended him to live and that God intended him to be. So we'll see how this God carries Samuel, and we'll see how his story continues on next week. Thank you for watching. God bless. Take it easy.